Well, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this from a president of the United States. And I think, as Jake said, it's sad and it is truly pathetic. And of course, it is dangerous. And of course, it will go to courts. But you'll notice the president did not have any evidence presented at all. Nothing. No real, actual evidence of any kind of fraud. He talked about people putting up papers in windows. He talked about things that he'd seen on the internet. That is the president of the United States. That is the most powerful person in the world. And we see him like an obese turtle on his back, flailing in the hot sun, realizing his time is over. But he just hasn't accepted it, and he wants to take everybody down with him, including this country.
What a sad night for the United States of America to hear their president say that, to falsely accuse people of trying to steal the election, to try to attack democracy that way with this feast of falsehoods. Lie after lie after lie about the election being stolen. No evidence for what he's saying. Just smears about the integrity of vote counting in state after state. When he wins a state, it's legitimate. When he loses, it's because the vote is being stolen from him. It's not true. It's ugly. It's frankly pathetic. The president, for example, he assailed vote by mail. Why, he asked, why are the vote by mail ballots so overwhelmingly in favor of Joe Biden? We all know the answer. It's because the president told his supporters not to vote by mail. So Democrats did it overwhelmingly, and his supporters turned out in droves on Election Day. Look, President Trump has always been transparent about the smears and lies and strategies of falsehoods. We knew he was going to do this. We knew he was going to claim votes by mail were not real. But he's wrong. It's a lie. He's lying about the election. He's smearing the American people. He's smearing people who are working at polls, and it's a disgrace. We knew that the president was not going to lose graciously if he lost. But frankly, watching him flail like this is just pathetic.
This is Anderson Cooper pulling no punches in the aftermath of what amounted to nothing less than one of the most dangerous press conferences ever held by a president in the history of this country.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late. I've already decisively won many critical states, including massive victories in Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio. To name just a few, we won these and many other victories despite historic election interference from big media, big money, and big tech. There are now only a few states yet to be decided in the presidential race. The voting apparatus of those states are run in all cases by Democrats. We were winning in all the key locations by a lot, actually. And then our numbers started miraculously getting whittled away in secret. And they wouldn't allow legally permissible observers. We went to court in a couple of instances, and we were able to get the observers put in. And when the observers got there, they wanted them 60, 70 feet away, 80 feet, 100 feet away, or outside the building to observe people inside the building. And we won a case, a big case, and we have others happening. There are lots of litigation, even beyond our litigation. There's tremendous amount of litigation generally because of how unfair this process was. And I predicted that. I've been talking about mail-in voting for a long time. It's really destroyed our system. It's a corrupt system, and it makes people corrupt even if they aren't by nature. But they become corrupt. It's too easy. They want to find out how many votes they need, and then they seem to be able to find them. They wait, and then they find them.
Right off the bat, there were no illegal votes counted. Second of all, no, Trump did not easily win. In reality, Biden's lead is effectively insurmountable, and it's not because of any illegitimate ballots or late ballots, it's because the majority of the American people voted against Trump. And bear in mind, while he's claiming that Democrats are committing mass fraud, consider the fact that Republicans actually gained seats in the House and deprived Democrats of key Senate pickups, meaning that Democrats would have had to commit fraud that hurt themselves. Got it. As for votes that, quote, came in late, depending on the state, ballots that were postmarked by Election Day still have a certain number of days to arrive. Those are not votes that were cast late, those were votes that arrived within the window that they needed to arrive in to legally be counted. Otherwise, he might also be referencing the ballots still being counted in a state like Pennsylvania. What Pennsylvania is counting right now are the mass influx of mail ballots. Again, these are ballots that were cast on or before November 3rd, but that took time to count. And the reason that they're still waiting for these millions of ballots to be counted is because the Republican legislature in that state refused to allow counting to begin before Election Day. Why? Because they knew Election Day votes would break in Trump's favor, while early votes would break in Biden's favor. So by allowing for those Election Day ballots to be counted first, it would give Trump the optics of a lead in that state. And then when the Biden-friendly ballots began to trickle in, it would give the impression that Trump's lead was being taken away, which he would then decry as fraud. This was a plan that Trump literally broadcast over and over prior to the election. And by ensuring that early votes weren't counted first, Pennsylvania Republicans handed Trump that deceptive, false narrative, because the entire party is complicit. Trump then went on to claim that the entire voting apparatus in the states that are still counting votes is run by Democrats, which couldn't be further from the truth. More counties in Pennsylvania are run by Republicans than Democrats. Georgia's Secretary of State is a Republican. And in every state where votes are ongoing, there are always Republicans and Democrats present. Of course, that hasn't stopped the Trump campaign from pretending that they're being shut out of secret processes, but those are outright lies. Consider too that the Trump campaign even went to court over the idea that they were being locked out of rooms where ballots were being counted. And when the judge asked if indeed there were members of the campaign who could observe, Trump's campaign quite literally told the judge that yes, there were members of the campaign who have observed the counting process, meaning that they themselves undermine their own public disinformation campaign. Trump even says that they went to court to get their observers closer because they were allegedly being forced to observe from outside the building, which is about as truthful as it sounds. In reality, the Biden campaign has been happy to allow observers, so long as no one interferes with the count. Biden's spokesman even tweeted, "Massive victory? No, we don't care if your observers are 18 feet away or 15 feet away or 6 feet away, as long as election officials can do their jobs. They will do their job, ballots will be counted, when they are done, we will win." The fact is that when Trump says there's lots of litigation, the reason for that is that he knows he can't win legitimately. He knows that he suffered a massive repudiation at the hands of the American people, and so rather than accept the results, because his ego is so fragile, he needs to play pretend and do this whole ridiculous song and dance as if some fraud was perpetuated. In reality, the only fraud that's been perpetuated is by his campaign's constant and desperate attempts to litigate away the rights of the American people, and every single time, they've fallen on their faces. So Trump's press conferences and tweets and press releases aside, the fact is that the states will continue to count every single vote. And as Biden continues to widen his lead, Trump will throw his temper tantrums and stomp his feet and pound his fists. He'll lob threats on Twitter and file lawsuits in court. But his desperation stems from the fact that this is one process he can't rig. And once those results are certified, he'll leave office after only one term as a failed president. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.